Good afternoon, Mr. Jeff and everyone. Today we are Group 1. We're presenting on our project Diversity of Inclusion at the Workplace. My name is Izzat and I'm presenting on group information and the project introduction. Faust will be presenting on the company strategy. Mervin and Auyu will be presenting on the company's initiative. Lukman will be presenting on the element of diversity, while Sangche and Javier will be presenting on the strategy for success. So the company that we've chosen is Coca-Cola, which was founded in Atlanta, Georgia in 1892, and they have started from a small business that is now a multinational corporation. And since then, they have hired employees from different cultures and diversity and are planning to improve on that.
The strategy that the Coca-Cola company has adopted is diversity, equity, and inclusion. They reinforce these values as they are the foundation of what made Coca-Cola the successful company that we all see today. In the past, Coca-Cola has also stood up for these values, and they have also been celebrating these values around the world. For example, from having the first female in a leadership position in a major corporation, which is a really amazing feat. Especially it was in 1934, because not a lot of people believe that women should be in leadership positions during that time. They also celebrate diversity through the creative ads that we see on the internet and YouTube. But with all of these efforts, they still felt that they weren't doing enough. So they upgraded their strategy by including three long-term aspirations, which are mirroring the market's equity for all and also inclusivity. This is because they believe that having these three long-term aspirations would help them to be able to achieve a greater global reach, stronger impact, and deeper focus on equity. So these are the long-term ambitions, which are mirroring the market and inclusivity. So by increasing the number of women and minorities in leadership positions, they would be able to achieve their goal of filling at least half of the leadership positions in their company, and most likely in the US, to have race and ethnicity representation reflect national census data at all levels. And for equity for all, they review their business, human rights, and employment policies, and this helps them to practice to eliminate biases and inequities in their company. Not only that, by mirroring the markets that they serve, it also creates a more inclusive and equitable culture. It also provides one consistent framework for their markets around the world to shape their plans on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
The first strategy that Coca-Cola implemented is to create an inclusive environment in their workplace. By creating such an environment, it allows the workforce to foster a sense of allyship, belonging, and community, while also providing opportunities to employees of different communities to have their voices heard, not just within the firm, but across the Coca-Cola system. Being able to have varying voices from different communities will enable Coca-Cola to highlight the different social and societal concerns that different communities are facing before coming up with actions and plans to ease these concerns. These actions will then be feedback upon through an inclusion perspective. To achieve their long-term strategy, the Employee Inclusion Network initiative was started and is an integral part of the diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy for the Coca-Cola Company. It is employee-led and company-recognized. Part of the inclusion includes the interview panels being made up of diverse colleagues from different backgrounds. An example would be in a group of 4 interviewer setting, each interviewer would be of one unique background, one Hispanic, one Asian, one black, one white. This is done to reduce the biasness or favorable treatment towards certain races during interviews, while also ensuring that the sourcing of these potential applicants from the applicant pool are of varying backgrounds before making hiring decisions. Lastly, they are also hiring a full-time position whose job scope is solely focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion education for the rest of the workforce. Now, let us take a look at the matrix set by the Coca-Cola Company in the 21st century. By the end of 2030, the Coca-Cola aims to achieve a representation of 13% Blacks, 18% Hispanics, and 6% Asians in their employee population representation, which also includes the management level. Looking at the results proudly stated on their webpage, as of December 31st, 2020, the Blacks make up 19% of the employee population, the Hispanics make up 14% of the employee population, and the Asians make up 7% of the employee population. As seen from the results and the matrix set by Coca-Cola, we can see that they had already surpassed their goal of Black and Asian employee representation by 6% and 1% respectively, which is a good indication that their strategy and initiative is working well. Even though the Hispanic employee population representation is still for 4% of the target goal, they still have another 8 years from 2020 to 2030 to achieve this goal.
The second strategy Coca-Cola have in place is the Global Women's Leadership Council. The council aims to promote gender equality internally and empower female employees. The council is ran by a mixed-gendered team. The inclusion of men brought about valuable insights for the initiatives and campaigns. It is also a way to show diversity in the team. The council shapes initiatives to develop and advance female talents. A few examples of such initiatives is the Assessment and Development Program and the Women and Leadership Program. The council also oversees the numerous regional branches and work with them to create customized initiatives tailored for their needs. The initiative I'll be sharing is the Women and Leadership Program. This program aims to equip female employees with the necessary skills to shoulder a leadership role. Under this program, female employees undergo leadership and communication workshops. Female employees in these workshops are also paired with a senior female leader for mentorship. This aims to help them better understand what it takes to be like in a higher position, and they are also able to learn from their respective mentors. Lastly, there's also an assessment program in place. This assessment program is used to promote female employees that are ready for a higher position in the company. The Coca-Cola Company aims for 50% of its leadership position to be held by women by the year 2030. This strategy in place has tremendously improved the gender equality within the company. As of 2020, women accounts for 42% of the total leadership roles in the company, which is 15% more than that of in 2008. Women represents around 35% of Coke's senior leadership roles. This percentage of senior leadership roles held by female has risen more than 10% since 2008.
The element of diversity we should focus on is generation. Senior Minister of State Dr. General Puteri noted the increasing divisions between the young and old here in Singapore. The millennials are being neglected, left with no opinion. A gap between the millennials and older generations is occurring due to the generational differences such as their culture and opinions. For example, the boomers are independent and have a strong work ethic, while the millennials are tech-savvy and more being open to change. These are some of the many reasons between the generational differences. The public opinions of 19 to 36-year-old were that they were impatient, overconfident, and materialistic. In another survey conducted on the generation discipline, the public view 15% of the millennials being disciplined compared to the 84% of boomers. However, these numbers are quite reliable, as only 20% of millennials themselves see themselves as being disciplined. This shows how much of a generation difference there are between the millennials and boomers.
The strategy for success our group came up with would be to establish a cohesive and productive working environment between the younger and older generations. This allows everybody to work together harmoniously in the workforce. One initiative our group has chosen would be the reverse mentoring program. The reverse mentoring program has seen significant results by Johnson & Johnson when this program was implemented in the workforce, with over 88% of the participants finding this highly useful. It pairs one younger generation employee with another older generation employee, and by working together, they can help to nurture each other. Since the younger generation had just graduated from education, they can share their skill sets and help to educate the older generations by sharing critical knowledge on technology operations and software, as they tend to be more up to date with computer suits. In contrast, the older generation can share their experience on how to complete a specific task in a shorter period, since they have been working in a company longer than the younger generations. With this initiative, I believe that we can work towards our strategy. So, how can this initiative be implemented? Firstly, each group should consist of one younger generation and one older generation employee only. They should be of equal or similar status in the company so that there isn't hierarchy involved. Secondly, both parties should be able to take constructive criticism and do not be offended when the other party points out their mistakes. Lastly, the reverse mentoring program should not be held for more than 6 months, as they should have the option to pair up with another employee when the time is up.
The other initiative that can be taken is diversity training. The objective of diversity training is to ensure that employees are aware of the benefits from having a diverse workplace, and also to create a more productive working environment. Standard diversity programs, however, should be avoided as much as possible, as statistics from Harvard Business Review show that usual diversity programs often yield poor returns. Therefore, we believe that it is necessary to have a more targeted approach, like what Accenture, a company with market-leading diversity training methods, has done. Accenture combines industry expertise and advanced analytics. They work closely with clients to define their strategy using a results-oriented approach, which undoubtedly suits employees more than a generic training program that is so-called made for everyone. Since training is results-oriented, the company can decide whether to use whatever works well and discard methods that don't, which is like trial and error. Moreover, they also provide leadership alignment workshops as well as personalized learning experiences for their employees. By making training personalized, it ensures that it is targeted for that particular employee. What works well for me might not work well for another. Therefore, a personalized approach will certainly increase the effectiveness of training. The results we hope to achieve is that new knowledge can be exchanged between generations, which can in turn foster new skills in an individual, as the old and young share their personal experiences with one another. 67% of job seekers also consider the workplace diversity an important factor when considering employment opportunities, and more than 50% of current employees want their workplace to do more to increase diversity. Thus, our D&I efforts also hope to allow more people to join the company that applies such relevant strategies. The end goal, of course, is to clear prejudice and stereotype of each generation by appending the power dynamic of the traditional mentoring and training models to create a sense of belonging, which nurtures stronger connection between colleagues.
So this will be a success goal for the company. By the end of 2025, we would like to have 75% of the employees to be aware of the age gap that is happening in the workplaces, and end of 2023 to have 90% of the company to feel inclusive between generations and not feel excluded. So I researched some diversity matrix system in terms of generation, and the first one will be recruitment, selection, and promotion matrix system. Basically, we will track a group of people and see who gets hired or who gets promoted, and we see how it will fare in our workplace. For the second one, it will be the employment satisfaction engagement, where we monitor a certain group of people in the workplace to see who is more satisfied and who's not so satisfied, and who is engaging with one another, to see in terms of the generation gap, whether there is really a generation gap in our workplace. So the diversity matrix system that we decided to go with will be employment satisfaction and engagement matrix system, where we will monitor a certain group of generation and another certain group of generation, and we'll see how they will compare with each other to see which are more satisfied working in the workplace. And that's how we will get our matrix system and statistics. In conclusion, for Group 1, we feel like we have learned a lot from MDW, especially in a workplace where diversity will take in place, such as stereotypes and discrimination, such as in generation and gender. So in the future, we feel like we should do something in terms of it. Thank you.